I'm Deb, and this is View Beyond. Really, we explore anything. It's looking beyond the everyday. What might look like the everyday normal stuff that you're always looking at maybe has something else to it. So that's that. We're here today with Susi Marrotte, and she is an artist, and she's been an artist forever, but recently, over the last couple of years, she has discovered soul auras, and she's been painting and interpreting these soul auras for people, and I find it fascinating. So I thought you might too, and tell us about it.
Well, a soul aura is a bit different than your energy aura. It goes much deeper, way down into your soul. And what I do is I can do it at a distance or in person.
Right.
And I connect with a person's energy, and colors just form, and they have a meaning.
So a lot of people are pretty familiar with the concept of your aura, right?
No, not everybody.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think it's one of those kind of everyday?
I mean, I think that it's thrown. I think
things?
it's thrown around. I don't think people really have any real idea what an aura is.
So can you help clear that up?
A little bit. We carry energy around with us in everything that we do. So depending on how we feel, we exude energy and colors.
Right.
The soul aura goes just a bit deeper than that. It's your internal person, your higher self, and who you are.
So let's stick with the everyday aura.
Yes.
Because I think that this is an important distinction.
Mm-hmm.
And people do hear the word aura, right? Probably since, before the 60s and 70s when it became kind of popular.
Right.
But they associate the aura with color. Some people have special equipment and cameras where they take pictures of the aura, and then they go on to interpret the color.
Yes.
Right? But this is not a stagnant thing, right? The everyday aura, it changes shape, it changes.
That's correct. The everyday
consistency, not consistency, but like.
Well, the color and even the flow of it.
Right, that's what I'm thinking about.
Will
it could
change.
be thicker here, it could be thinner there, it could be open here, it could be closed there.
Yes.
Right.
And it all depends on what you're going through in your life. And it can change in the course of a day.
Right.
The soul aura is a bit more constant. It's something that goes all the way back to even before you were born.
So today we're feeling happy, and so we like the color yellow and orange, and tomorrow we're feeling kind of sad, or later today we're feeling kind of tired, and we want blues and greens, and these would be colors in our everyday aura that change and reflect our mood, our energy, our circumstances.
Or whether we're healing even.
Right, and those might be the colors that we're drawn to in what we wear, in how we're feeling, what we want around us, right?
That's your energy aura.
Right.
That's the one you carry around with your body.
Right.
The soul aura is different.
Okay, now let's go there.
Okay.
Okay.
The soul aura is, you carry it with you when you incarnate into your body. Your soul incarnates into your body. So it can encapsulate other lives even. And this is why a lot of people find themselves in situations that they're in, because their soul is there for a reason. It has a divine path, it needs to fulfill it, and it has a journey to go through. And so when I connect with somebody and I do a soul aura for them, a lot of that comes through. Stuff that they know intuitively, but don't really talk about.
Like what kind of stuff?
Like they might be a very shy person, and that is really who they are, and maybe their shyness is supposed to come out in a more artistic form. Like maybe they're supposed to be on stage, and that is how they're going to overcome this shyness, and that is in their whole soul path, their journey. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah. Or like cooking, or...
Well, they could be a wounded soul, too. And they're here on this planet specifically to heal that soul, so it can go.
So it could be self-expression, it could be personality types, it could
It's
be
deeper. It's even deeper,
than that.
Yes,
Okay.
it really is for healing. It's a healing modality.
Okay. So
So some people do it because they just, oh, I want to know what my soul aura looks like. But a lot of people that come to me
yeah.
don't even realize the stuff that comes out.
This sounds a little bit like some of the mandala work
Yes.
that
yes.
that I've seen people
Yes.
do through sacred geometry. And
Yes, there's
they
a
contract
lot of
with
sacred
somebody
geometry.
doing beautiful and they see, oh, this is my soul mandala.
Right.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go ahead and Google it. And
Well,
get some good information.
One of the things that I was going to say too is there are people that carry around a constant color of white. And I did see one person in my lifetime that actually followed the woman in a grocery store. Never knew her, didn't know who she was. I followed her and tapped her on the shoulder.
That's a little creepy, Susie.
I know it is. I'm not a stalker. I just, when you see something that bright and you're thinking, maybe they know they have this. And I went up to her and I said, this is strange. I introduced myself. I said, but you are surrounded in bright white light. And she said, I didn't know that. Thank you. And we became friends. We've been friends for 25 years. She's in her 90s now.
Uh-huh.
So.
And what does the bright white light, now you've had this 25 years of exploring her as a person, so did that validate anything you thought of as what bright white light might mean?
In doing this now, it could mean many things.
Sure.
Because you can be any nationality of person, you can be any religious affiliation.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It has no judgment.
Right.
She just is a person that is totally in tune with her higher self. Totally. And she follows spirit 100%. She doesn't take, answers from anybody. She doesn't take answers from television. She just follows her her own intuition.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. So, do you find that a lot of people will study color and say, blue always means this for everybody, everywhere in the world, blue is always this, green is always that, white is always this, yellow is always that. Do you believe that?
Some of the basic colors that coordinate with the chakras, yes.
Okay.
But they do change. I know I was doing this one woman and I kept getting peach, and it wasn't a one-on-one session. It was in the privacy of my own home. And I'm looking at her picture and I'm looking all over the internet. What does peach mean? And so I decided to just go with what I was being told, and it was correct. So some of the colors are not out there for you to Google. And what? You have to come to me. No.
But I like the way
green.
you phrased that before, where you had to just kind of sit with yourself,
Right.
and say, what does this mean to me?
And the color green, I said that you have a lot of green around you today. You did. It might not be there right now. But green typically is Archangel Raphael, an emerald green color, and it's a healing color.
Yeah.
But it can also mean somebody that's really connected with the earth, with plants, with grass, and that takes a little bit of intuition there. You know, if I just go blanket by what the internet says or what a color theory book says, then I'm going to be lost.
Or if you just limit yourself to one modality, because if you're just studying angels, for example, then you're leaving out a whole modality of maybe plant kingdom stuff.
Exactly.
Is what you're saying. So
I have a story. Can I share it?
I love stories.
This story is
Susie.
fascinating. I was at Zuzu's Healing Arts on October 6th doing one-on-one soul auras. And this woman came in, and she happened to be Irish, but I didn't know this at the time. And she was in the store, and I'm looking through, waiting, and I see this Indian, this Native American Indian standing behind her. Full headdress, and I'm like, oh, and I had gotten, on my drive, it took me an hour and a half to get there. And I kept hearing, somebody's going to come in, they're going to have a Native American Indian with them, and they're going to do art, and, and you're going to know. And so I'm like, this is the woman. So she comes in, she sits down, and as I'm, getting her imprint down, I said, so you have a Native American, you're Native American? She said, no. And I said, you have an Indian guide? No. And everything I said was no, and I'm like, this is puzzling and I don't like this to happen, but whatever. And I said, okay, let's move on. So we did it. She's getting up to leave. The other two people are coming in, and I'm saying goodbye to her, and I said, now we just have to figure out who has the Indian. And the woman that was standing there said, that's me.
Aha.
And she said this Indian precedes her wherever she goes.
Isn't that interesting?
So it's not just color that comes through.
Sure.
Guides come through too. So it's kind of it's very cool.
That is interesting.
And I will see patterns, you know, of
What
color.
kinds of patterns?
If it's, let's just use the Native American because that's what we're talking about. I may see a zigzag with dots and a line, and I'll see that around the person, and that has something to do with, you know, Native American art. Or I might see feathers. I might see a dream catcher type thing.
So does that inspire you to want to go? Because when you say Native American, I mean, that's just so broad and bland.
It is.
Right? So does that inspire you to then go and research and learn as much history as you can about different customs, different nations, different beliefs, different practices, different cultures? Because you can't just say,
No, I
you
know.
can't just say that, right? So without, I mean, that's
They
like
usually
even just being Italian, you know, if you just say to someone, oh, I'm Italian, and they're Italian too, they're going to want to know where you're from.
Right.
right?
Right.
Because it means a whole different thing.
That's true.
You know, so,
That's true.
you know,
I do study a little bit of it,
okay.
but I will have to be honest here. I find that the more research that I do,
Right.
the more I'm into that and not into my intuition.
Okay.
So if I bring up Native American as in the broad sense,
Right.
and I may see West, like I may see
Oh, okay.
I may see California,
Okay.
then they will pipe up and say, yes, I am such
So
and
they
such.
get the connection.
Yes.
Right.
So it draws people in too.
Okay. See, with the work that I do, I find that the more I can learn about culture, about history, about clocks, about animals, about the ocean, it's like it gives the spirits
Yeah,
a Rolodex.
that's true.
And then they can give me very specific references of something like.
I'm not there yet, Deb.
No. I don't mean like
I'm
that
teasing, I'm teasing.
because we're all very different,
Right,
in how
right.
it works, and it's. I think it's very interesting for us to have a conversation
Yeah.
as colleagues,
Yep.
and maybe very interesting for our viewers to say, oh, you know, different modalities, different practices,
That's right.
right, and how to seek out someone that's a good match for them.
That's true.
If they're curious about these things.
That's true. And
Yeah.
I usually say to people, if
I mean,
if
I'll get movie star references
Have
and things like
you?
that.
Awesome.
Oh, absolutely. But well, just last night we were at there was a town forum, and I won't give too much of the detail because I don't, you know, want to. But I was talking with one of the developers on the project that there was this town meeting about, and sure enough, I got a very specific movie reference of a character, and that was an immediate tip-off to me as to the character and the trustworthiness of this particular developer on the project.
That's important.
So that was, and it was just simply a character out of a movie that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
it was shorthand. It was a symbolic message soundbite
Yeah.
that said, "Oh," and in that one little packet, I got all the information I needed to know.
Yes.
Right?
I do understand that.
So I'm wondering.
That
if-
does happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the more I'm exposed to, and the more information
Yes.
I get, the more those sound bites make sense.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking, when you get Native American, does it inspire you to want to study more? Or,
It does.
Or
Yes,
like,
I guess the answer to your question would be yes to that.
because like when you said, oh, well, there's green around me, so
Mm.
that could mean archangel, or that could mean native spirit, nature spirits. So you don't limit yourself to
Mm-hmm. I
one
do have an
modality.
example I can show you.
I want to see a picture.
This is a woman from New Zealand that I just did.
Okay.
They're very fluid
So
pictures.
what I'd like is to bring up her camera, and I'll hold it close. How does that work?
Okay, you want to go down to would be right there. You want
Right
to show
here?
the red square.
Red square. There.
That is her heart chakra. And I have a tool just to make
Right
it
there.
quick. Exactly. I have a tool that I dip in the red and I just put it right there to make a round circle.
Okay.
And I decided I'm going to dry brush this out and make it look like rays. Well, it kept turning into a square. If you see the circle really has edges to it.
Right.
In the center.
Right?
So I said, this isn't working, I'll do it again. So I did it again, and the paint had a mind of its own.
Right.
So I stared at it, and I thought, this is odd. It looks like a square, and then I immediately went to north, south, east, west.
Ah, okay.
And then from that, I decided I was going to Google, and then I heard the word elements.
Ah,
And from
okay.
that, I decided I was going to Google elements. And what do I see but a square within a square?
Isn't that interesting?
And there was a whole, message within the Google, but I had already gotten the trees, the air, the waves, and the fire. And this
Right.
was these were the finishing touches.
Huh.
And so I haven't done her write-up yet, but I sent her picture, and she said, "You got me." She's a scientist, and she studies all of the elements
Okay.
and incorporates that into what she does for a job.
Mm-hmm.
So that little square was one soundbite, the element,
Right.
and the paint did that, which I would like to just point out that for me that is miraculous, that I'm just a tool, I'm a vessel, and it's almost like the paint takes on a life of its own.
But I think that whether a creative person associates themselves directly with being involved with metaphysical work or not, if they're an
Right.
artist, if they're a writer, if they're a musician, if they're even a cook, if they're creative minded in the things that they
Yeah.
do, can all relate to that moment where you just sort of check out and go to this other space, and you just feel part of a much vaster process.
Yes.
And
It's a universal place.
yeah, whatever terminology
Yeah,
you put
yeah.
around it, whether it's metaphysical terminology or
True.
whether you give it scientific brain chatter or whatever you call it, I think many of us have the zone,
It's the zone.
right?
I personally feel that this is where I connect to my higher self.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm never been happier than doing this. I mean, I've done
What a
artwork
beautiful
my
thing.
whole life,
Sure.
but I have a BA in graphic arts, and I started.
Right, so you even chose to study it, to continue your
did.
education.
Yes.
So something inside of you is always pulsed
It
you
was
in
a
the
raging
direction of
river.
art.
That's what I just,
Yeah.
even through having, my children, I was always, and they can vouch for this, I've always had a paintbrush either in my hair or in my hands or, chewing on a pencil.
Up your nose and your ear. anyway. Oh, there's
Oh,
Mom.
metaphysically, I can do that, yes. Bend the brush. But, so, yes, and I am certified in soul therapy now, 1 and 2.
Interesting.
And when I started taking the classes, my very first question was, is this going to help me painting soul auras? Now, painting auras. I didn't even say soul. I just said auras. The whole soul aura terminology came out after the fact.
I kind of feel like that's yours. Like that was.
Yeah, a divinity. It was divinely given to me. Yeah, I mean, you're right about that.
I don't really feel like that's somebody else's. I feel like that's
Yeah.
yours. Like touch drawing. Have you been exposed to that? Deborah Koff Chapin.
Does she use her fingers?
She uses her fingers.
Oh my gosh, that's strange.
And it's touch drawing.
Yeah.
So and back in the 70s when she was graduating from college, and I did a show on that, but she started this whole international movement, and when she was graduating from college, right, it's the end of 4 years in fine arts school. She's like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And she was helping somebody clean up in the print lab, and there was like a paper towel on ink, and she was just kind of fiddling around with it, and then lifted up the paper towel and said, "Oh," and something bitter. And next thing you
I'm
know,
not familiar with
she's using her hands and thin paper on non-porous surfaces. She's rolling out, the water-based oils with
Yeah.
a brayer roller,
Yeah.
and then she's putting thin paper on it, and she's
Oh,
using her
cool.
hands, and she's creating these things, peeling them off, and then she goes through this whole process where she continues doing that silently for like 45 to 90 minutes,
That's amazing.
and then sees the story that unfolded on all of these things.
Oh, that's awesome.
Takes parts and pieces and collages something and colorizes them after. And she's created books, workshops, traveled the world. They'll have neuroscientists giving presentations, and there she is interpreting what these scientists are saying in these forums, and then they're auctioning off her interpretations later on. She's
wow.
done this while the Dalai Lama has been speaking. So this is touch drawing, and that's hers.
Yeah.
That's her unique thing
Yeah.
that she's coined. And
Yeah, she
I
was
kind of feel
divinely
like
guided and
Soul
definitely.
Auras is your coinage, your terminology that you've created.
Well, what happened?
I've never heard of it.
It was actually a fluke. Some people may say, but I feel it was divinely guided. I was on a practice site and I decided to offer aura readings for the day. And I thought, how am I going to do this? I mean, typing all the explanations that I get, that's just
Yeah.
too cumbersome. I said, I'll just take a piece of paper. When you said touch drawing, I didn't use a brush. I used my fingers. I drew with a marker, and then I just went around and started pushing paint around and using my fingers, and I posted it. These people didn't have faces. They just had, their silhouette and paint. And, it was like, I want one, I want one, I want one.
Isn't that cool?
And I was glad to do it because
Sure.
it really heals a
called
piece
to
of
you.
me. It talked to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you said that you have this certification,
Oh, yes.
I don't want to sound like I'm minimizing it, but
Oh,
I'm going
no.
to challenge you on it.
That's fine.
Right, because everyone and their uncle says,
yeah.
I'm going to develop a course now and you can get certified. And you're like, well, who the hell are they? So they made a course and they said, here, have a certificate, right? So because it's kind of an offbeat sounding thing, and again, we didn't prepare. I never pre-prepare my questions for my people that come and sit here. I just want you to know that. I never have any idea what we're going to talk about. So I don't have any back knowledge on
No, Deb and
on
I
this.
just met each other today.
Yep. So I don't know what she's going to say. I don't. What are you going to say?
About my certification?
Yeah.
I
could be getting into hot water here. And
No,
even
not at
know it.
all. Not at all. I don't think so. I started off taking angel healing.
Don't
with-
necessarily drop names.
I can't. Can I? Or
I don't know. I'm not sure. But talk about the certification,
well, I took
because
a
we
couple
don't
of, I
necessarily
took
want to advertise somebody. We just want
Okay.
to talk about,
the certification.
what is this about?
basically-
I mean, how is it that the certification is meaningful?
Oh,
You see what I mean?
it's a cleansing.
What makes it meaningful versus like Joe Schmo just put up a certification and you put in 30 hours, you write an essay, and now you are a soul healer, right? So
This is it's actually internal work you do on yourself, clearing away blocks and barriers that can interfere with your divine path.
right.
And it's hugely intense, hugely. The first day I didn't want to go back. It's private, I was in a class of probably say 11 to 12 people, and when it was done, the teacher, I had asked if this was going to aid me at all, and she most definitely said yes. And then there was a series of months of going within that I didn't do anything with it. And when I felt that I was ready, I started to put myself out there a little bit. And I just finished 2 weeks ago the second part of it. So it's done now. But
Right.
it was intense. That's all. I mean, when I say soul therapy, I don't have a PhD. I don't want people coming to me with their problems, expecting me to give them answers to
Well,
their
see, that's
problems.
what I mean. When you say I'm a soul therapy,
No, that's-
certified soul therapy, this is tricky terminology.
It is, definitely.
And, you know, again, I feel like I want people to feel comfortable
Right.
to say when they bump into someone that says, I have a certification in
Right,
something.
right.
To say, hey, what does that mean? How did you get it? And, you know, I've never heard of that before. Instead of just being like, oh,
Right.
soul therapy certification, that sounds important. Because I think that we're all very quick to be
Exactly.
impressed by something that sounds impressive.
And it does sound impressive.
It does sound impressive, and maybe it should be impressive, but then again, is it? Right? And this work, I think, whether it's a reading or whatever it is, it should be about empowerment.
Exactly.
And so in the spirit of it being about empowerment, I want to keep to that by having people who might be drawn to sit with you or me feel like, yeah, ask the question.
Right,
You know,
right.
If you see it on their card, ask about it.
Yes.
You know, what does
Yes.
that mean? What do these letters mean? What does that certification mean? You know?
So are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, for me, what it means is if a person comes to me and would like a soul aura done, as a soul therapist, my job is to guide them into who they already are.
Okay.
That's it. My job is not to tell them they need to make life changes. My job is not to tell them that, you know, they have a disease and they need to, you know, my job is to guide them into finding out who they really are. That's
Okay.
it.
All right. So if somebody comes to you and they have some really heavy things going on, do you ever feel like it may be out of your scope?
That has happened.
And then what do you do?
Basically, I do a lot of listening
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of drawing and painting. And sometimes people just need talk therapy. They
Right.
just need to sit down with somebody for a half hour, 45 minutes, who will listen viably and won't blow them off as, you know, being a crazy person. That's not for me to judge.
Right.
And they get to walk away with a beautiful piece. I can tell them, you know, a little bit about themselves.
Right.
I can say it might be a good idea to seek alternative, you know, healing.
Right.
But I don't. There's a fine line there, you know. I
Right.
just
so
don't cross it.
you go as far as you can go.
I
with
do.
them.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
You know, if they have something even, and there have been people I've seen. One woman came to me who was very depressed, and I kept hearing pills, depression, and you know, I'm doing the aura, and I finally had to ask, you know, are you on medication? Yes. Are you depressed? Yes. Well, what's going on? And she just explained to me
Yeah. What
but
she already knew.
what she already knew,
Yeah.
and I did not give her any suggestions.
Right.
She just needed to kind of get it out, and you know, she started crying. I mean,
So you can acknowledge
heavy
that
world.
part of them without
Yes.
necessarily being, you know,
I could be present,
there we go.
but not give any advice.
Okay.
The
So
picture
I
speaks.
think that when you use words like certified soul therapist, it's very important for us to back up for a second and take a moment to define what that might actually mean, you know, so that there's no discrepancy about how you're using that word combination. You know?
I understand.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally
yeah.
understand, and
Yeah.
I would not want people to think anything different than that.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. Thanks
Yeah.
for whew.
Yeah,
All right.
weight off our shoulders.
Yeah. No, it's important. It's
yeah,
very important.
it really is.
You know, because this is not frivolous stuff.
No.
You know, and sometimes people come and they say, "Whoa, this is going to be so much fun," and there is an element of fun to it.
There is.
But people are also asking for a reflection of themselves, right?
Yep.
How intriguing that is.
And I have gotten people that, you know, I've just felt a total block, and that's been hard.
Yeah.
to do. They get a very simple picture, and they'll be the ones that will walk away and rave, though. They're not the ones that don't give you any feedback. They just sit and and you're doing your whole spiel, and then they end up being your best advocate. It's so funny.
It's true.
It's true.
It's really true. So did you bring some other pictures that you'd like to share with us?
I gave
Ernie
the thumb
the wizard?
drive, and he has. But this is an angel that I did recently.
Ooh.
This is
Okay, so we'll do the same thing with your camera?
I do guide work too. This is Hemiad for a colleague of mine named Carmen. And
I don't know if you can see the lavender in the eyes. It's very nice.
They're very loose.
Yeah.
And it takes me about an hour to do them, but this is her guide, and this came through.
You can't really tell because of the sheen from the lighting, but there's all this beautiful opalescent kind of glittery, sparkly stuff.
And
on here
the
too.
prayer mode is very interesting because I had no prior knowledge to a painting that had been done for her by another intuitive.
Is it all right to put them on top?
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
by another intuitive that also had the same position. So to me that is fascinating, that even though we're all so different, we're all
kind of hooked into some of the
hooked
same
in.
stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
We're one.
I believe that.
I do too.
Yeah. So what do we have, Ernie?
Oh, this is my friend in Canada, Patrick. He won't mind. Patrick has a lot of he's a nurse, and he has a lot going on here. There's some fairies in the background, and when I did him probably at midnight one night, and the symbol in his forehead, I had no idea what that meant, and I guess it's some kind of Reiki symbol. And I don't know a whole lot about Reiki other than I know a little bit, but not all the symbolism. And he's attuned to a lot of Reiki. I found out. So that's one of my favorites. I don't get a lot of male subjects. Men come see me because women are more open.
It is very different working with men than it is working with women.
At the Blue Butterfly of Hope with Sally Donahue Bowers, I had my first real one-on-one male subject, and here I am, I'm talking, I'm having a talk, nobody knows I'm talking, I'm like, I'm so nervous, I don't know what I'm going to do, I've never had a guy before, I get a little intimidated, and so the guy he had come in and he was standing off to the side, and all of a sudden I just see this angel just appears by him with brown wings of all things. So I went, oh my God, it just came out, out of my mouth. Oh my gosh, you have an angel standing next to you. And he turns around and he said, who, me? And I said, yeah, you. He said, well, what does he look like? And I said, well, he's got brown wings. He goes and he picks up a cap that he had just purchased on the way there. And the cap had brown wings on it.
Oh, wow.
And that was it. That's all.
How fun is that?
That's all I needed. When
a little
sat
comfort.
Down, it was a really fun.
Isn't that interesting? All I could think of while you're saying that is the dangers of homogeny. That if we spend most of our time with a certain population of people, then how uncomfortable it can feel when we have to step out of
that comfort zone. Yeah.
So if we're predominantly used to spending time with women,
right,
and that energy of being with women, or even a particular type of woman,
right,
then when we're around a different type of woman or not women, then all of a sudden it's
right. We choke a little bit.
We choke a little bit.
Which, my regular job, because I'm self-employed, has really helped with that. I'm with all kinds of people.
Yeah, and I'm just saying women because we're women talking about being with women,
no,
but that can apply to anybody, of any age, any race, any religion, any color, any size, any whatever, mix it up, right?
So, that was
Category A
great.
mixing with Category C. And yeah. Homogeny. So what other pictures? Who's this? Well, not who, but...
I honestly can't remember her name. This was a distance person. Yeah, this was a woman I met at the Healing Expo in Peabody when I was painting soul auras there, and she just was fascinated and she wanted to give a gift, so she sent me a picture of this woman. And you know, the pictures come with a detailed explanation of all the colors and everything else that comes through, and so you also get a write-up,
Right.
a professional write-up. And so that was, she had a lot of otherworldly things going on, and she also had angel wings, so but you can see the wings slightly. You know, I mean, if I get really involved with the pictures, I could be there all day.
Yeah.
So I have to keep them simple because they're cost effective that way. So that got a thumbs up from the woman who gave it as a gift, and now she wants one.
Ha ha ha.
She's on the waiting list.
That's fun. Wow.
This was wild.
And another man.
Yes, a very, very energetic person. And this was my first walk-in, soul walk-in person. And, you know, I kept hearing this while I was painting. We made a deal that he wanted an extensive one, but he came to the spa day, and I said, okay, I'll do the 20 minutes and then I'll take it home and I'll finish it up if you get me a picture of yourself, which he did. And while I was working, I mean, if you can see from his heart chakra, all
Sure.
the swirls they're coming in every direction, and there's almost like a crack there. I saw it that way, and then the first thing I heard was walk-in. And I do not know a whole lot about walk-ins except for that at some point the soul walked into his body. I believe.
There's a lot of different
There's
theories.
a lot of theories on that.
Some of the talk and information on walk-in is interesting, and some of it I think is dangerous. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
meaning like the information that's out there, some of the theories and stuff. And I don't necessarily agree with
Right.
some of the thoughts and ideas.
But the interesting
That's
thing
out
was
there.
I mean, you know, I really had to Google that whole whatever that is. And there was the site that I chose to use, there was a list of personality traits, and you know, he really did fit in with a lot of those.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend at the time talked to him about it, and he said, that's interesting, that really sounds like me. So it was like, you know, walking on ice at that point. I didn't want to just blurp that out to him.
No, it's very delicate
It
territory.
is delicate, very delicate.
And in this current time where I think a lot of metaphysical centers and groups of people are casually talking.
I know, it's thrown around.
It's
thrown
one of those
around.
terms that I think needs to be addressed carefully and responsibly, and isn't. Right?
Yep.
We could have a whole conversation and
Just on that.
Yeah.
And that's why I almost, you know, I'm like, should I say something? But I mean, it's
It's
the
okay.
first and the
It's
last. It hasn't-
terminology that's out there.
I don't know how
you
many
know, it's all
auras
right
I
to-
have done.
Right.
A lot.
Well,
So-
and it's not common.
It's
And
not common.
It's not common.
No.
And that's you know, and this is good to put it out there like that, because you have done so many of these.
Right.
And
I never had that experience.
and bumped into this experience once.
Once.
And I've done so many readings.
Right.
And very, very seldom do I even think think it.
Right.
Right?
I didn't.
But
I
then,
wasn't
but then
thinking
you
about
have
it.
these exactly.
It's like
And
it
but then
happened.
you have these groups of people that are like, "Oh, I'm a walk-in. Are you a walk-in?" And we're walk-ins. And
Wow.
you know, and
You're probably
and so
more
it's-
out in, you
but
know,
then
with-
or then you have people who think of walk-ins in more of a sinister way.
Yeah.
And I know we're
It's-
probably
I-
talking around a subject that some of the viewers may not even understand.
Right.
And the idea
and
of
I don't even fully understand it.
no,
That's
but
the thing.
the general thing, I guess, to put it out there, is a walk-in would be a spirit that comes to your body, and maybe even it's not like possession,
No,
but
not at all.
but kind of takes the place in your spirit. Your spirit and this spirit agree to trade or share. And it
Share is a better word, I
It
think.
depends. It depends.
Well,
it depends on who you're talking to, what you've read, and maybe because it's for a specific purpose, or it gets into
It gets
murky,
really sticky, yeah. But one
murky,
of the
sticky
things,
territory. We're not going to spend too much time
Good.
on it, but just because you've mentioned it, we have that little bit of responsibility to dangle the theory out there.
and there is another theory that it was something that soul chose ahead of time too.
Absolutely.
So-
and you know what?
Yeah.
The way I think about it is, Ernie, can I say the A word? I can. Yeah. I don't really give a rat's bum.
Doesn't sound right.
It doesn't. In some ways, like
A rat's behind.
I know lots of people are very interested in, and it may sound strange because I am a spirit medium and I do work with people with things like past lives and things like that. But when it comes right down to it, at the end of the day,
I just posted this.
the idea about past lives and walk-ins and all this other stuff.
The terminology.
I am Deb Miller, here right now, 2012, in New Hampshire, living my life, enjoying my family, paying my bills, finding out all about this life here in this continent,
Right.
in this time, in this culture. And some days I really love it, and other days it's really hard. And if I'm
that's
supposed to remember these
great.
things, maybe I will. And so much time and energy and even resources committed to some of these things.
I don't think that
It's a curiosity, of course.
But what I'd like to interject here is that I don't think per se you need to remember.
Because we would.
Because you would. The people that I get want to remember. It's almost like they're at that point where they're going, who am I?
Yeah, but whenever I
so-
get somebody calling me and saying they want a past life regression, I always spend the time kind of counseling with them first and exploring why. Right? What is it about, and not to say that it's not useful, but what is it that you think that this past life will reveal to you that will make this life make more sense?
I can tell you the answer to that.
Good.
For most people.
Yeah.
For most people, I think that's because that's where their soul is stuck.
It may be.
Not, and I don't mean like the soul's back, 200 years. I think that mentally they feel their soul is stuck there.
Right. They're
Or
wondering
even-
what's the block? Why can't I get past
Right.
this? Why do I feel this way whenever
Right.
this happens? I have an irrational moment about these kinds of situations. Right? I think you're right.
Yeah.
But maybe it's past life. Maybe it's something from childhood. Maybe it's something the mind just kind of reorganized.
Well-
We have no way of knowing. So even when, and I've had past life regressions, right? It's part of training and things.
Right.
It's how you learn.
Right.
But even afterwards, I can say, well, the experience was very interesting, right? I came back with information that I didn't know that I knew, right?
Right.
But still,
Deb, there's a purpose, though. That purpose is supposed to help the person, the individual,
there you go.
reach where their soul is supposed to go.
And-
Their divine path, their journey.
So what if it's whether it's a past life remembrance or not? What if it's just something that your mind is giving you because it's symbolically right brain makes sense to you because it'll help you, like a dream state, remove a block. It'll help you understand yourself better. What if it's your great 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 uncle's memory from something very significant that happened in their life, and we think, oh, I've unlocked this DNA message. Right? Just like I have my great grandmother's eyes and I have my uncle's aptitude for math. Maybe I unlocked this memory message, and and maybe this is helpful for me to know right now.
Well,
Just like, don't eat that berry.
Hopefully it is. I feel that the people that I know that want past life regression work done, it's because they're at a place where they're ready to hear whatever it is.
They're
so
ready
they
to
can
heal
move forward.
and make a movement.
Yes.
So does it
That's
matter where the
purpose.
information came from?
Not really.
You know? So we could walk around and say, I had this past life.
Well, we could have cones on our heads and get it all ourselves.
But at the end of the day, it's good to challenge that, right?
Yes, it is.
And say, well, it was really just to move me.
That's what I think it is.
You think so, too?
I do. I think it's a progression, a movement, just to keep the soul moving forward.
And you feel like your work here is kind of the same.
I think
that,
it has.
that it's intuitive guidance.
Yes.
Where you're tapping into something deeper.
Yes. Much deeper.
Much, much deeper.
My
And
very
giving them a
very first
reflection.
experience was I was taken in through somebody's eyes into that person.
Wow.
Scared the daylights out
I bet.
of me. Because I didn't know, I mean, I'm going back 20 years. I had no idea of any of this.
Right.
And the external of this person and how they behaved is not how their soul is. And
How
so,
true that is for so many people. Isn't
yes, and so I feel that putting this on a healing modality, a divine modality, is trying to get the people to connect back to that.
To be more authentic to their...
Be more authentic to
Why do
who
you
they
think
really
that
are.
is? Why do you think that people feel like over time they depart more from this?
Because life throws us curveballs.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are walking around with pain bodies.
Pain bodies.
And, you know, they have no idea that they even have them most of the time.
So you think like protective coats?
Yeah, they have a wall. Some people call them walls. Some people have armor.
Or even just the expectations. Like
The expectation
the
itself.
the messaging that we get.
Right.
This is what you're supposed to be if you're this type of person.
Oh, yeah,
and
the
this is-
stigmas.
right.
You know. And this brings me back to just even terminology in general. Sometimes it really doesn't mean anything. You know, and so my work really tries to help the people connect with that essence of who they really are.
Go home.
To go home.
Yeah.
And this, I believe, this is my own perception, but I believe this frees the soul. The soul is so much larger than our body.
Yeah.
It goes whoosh,
Yeah.
and
The Celtic, like ancient Celtic wisdom, believes that. Like our culture kind of believes that if we have a soul, that the body is carrying the soul around.
Yeah.
But ancient Celtic wisdom actually believes that the soul carries the body.
yeah.
That the soul exceeds the body and kind of carries the body around.
I kind of have to say that, you know, that's maybe more how I believe, but and it's the soul is vast.
Yeah.
Even, you know, ancient mystics, you know, they could bilocate through their soul.
Right.
And people that have these pain bodies tend to limit themselves and never get to fulfill who they really are. And I think that this is one of the reasons why our world is in the trouble that it's in today.
So you think that if they see a reflection through your painting of them, where they see something in that picture that makes sense to them, where they feel like they can, like I can look at a picture of somebody else's soul aura and say, oh, that's really interesting. But they're looking at it and they're seeing something that makes odd sense to them, that makes them feel like they're going home somewhere.
Right.
And they can't even necessarily explain it.
Well, it
but
can-
then they read the write-up and they say, oh
Right.
my gosh, I've been seen.
Right, exactly. That's
And-
exactly what this woman said to me. When she sent me the email, she said, "Oh my goodness, I came through." Those were her exact
Yeah.
words.
And so that gives them permission to kind of
Yeah.
shed away
Yes.
some of this pain
The
body
layers
that you're talking
The
about.
layers, the pain body layers. And the other interesting thing is that this
Wow.
woman this woman from New Zealand, just happens to be following her soul purpose.
Yeah.
So everything that came through, she's
Lucky
doing
duck, yeah?
lucky for her.
Sure.
And then and you know, I ended up getting, I think she might be on the woman that has all the flowers going on here.
Oh, do we have another
I
picture?
think she's in there somewhere. I'm not sure.
Do, 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 do.
Oh, my
Do, do,
my
do,
nose
do,
is showing. My Canadian nose.
do. You have a nose. It's good that you have a nose.
It is good. It can.
Oh,
That's
and to put my binoculars back on so I can see the screen.
This is my friend Carmen.
Hi, Carmen.
That's not her, but that's not the woman I was talking about. But when she sat down, Isis is there. I did not know that she was working with Isis, and a lot of somebody said to me, "How come the Holy Spirit dove is going down?" I said, "It's going into her heart chakra." I mean, we're such limiting people. You know? Okay, let's go to another restaurant tonight, shall we? But yeah, the spirit dove doesn't have to be flying up. It can be flying down. It can be coming in. So, and the funny thing is, her colors. I did not know this either, but she happens to wear all of these colors: the pink, the orange, the
nice.
teal.
Okay.
And then she had some past life Egyptian stuff going on with her too.
So we only have a couple minutes left.
Yes.
So what's the most important thing that you want to make sure you get in under the wire? Is there another picture or some final
there's
thoughts?
all kinds of pictures. I guess my final thoughts are that people realize what their true worth is, and the soul is so unique. Even if a person believes, say, in reincarnation, when that soul enters that body, it is still unique on its path, on its journey. So, I think we need to start tearing down some of the barriers and some of the limits that we have, and be more welcoming people, and allow people into our lives, and start helping them with the gifts that we have.
And start seeing them for the gifts that they have.
And start seeing them for the people that they truly are.
How beautiful is that?
Just the person that you meet at the grocery store that might be having a really bad day, might have a sick child at home. And hey, I'm a human. I might get upset if somebody bumps into me with a shopping cart. But thinking about that, I don't know where they came from. And so I think we just need to be more mindful spirits.
Yeah, I like that. So thanks for coming, Susie.
Thank you. It was so nice
pleasure.
to meet you.
I know,
Now I have
it
a
was
new
wonderful.
soul friend.
That's it. That's it. And this was actually very interesting. Something
Thank
very
you.
new
Thank you.
to think about. So I guess that's it. And until next time, be bold, be curious, be yourself, and be connected. We'll see you.